Hey guys, welcome to Massive Iron Live. Welcome to Massive Iron Live. It is January 28th. We almost made it to February. We're slowly sneaking out of winter and maybe away from Omicron, the deadly Omicron, and maybe away from lockdowns, and maybe towards access to gyms for everyone. Finally, after 2 years, I'm over it. So, appreciate you guys joining in. I'll be here as long as you guys have questions. Post your questions up. If you're new, don't be shy. Say hello. Post your questions. And nothing's off limits. Training, running, workouts, nutrition, diet, whatever. Post them up. Post them up. If I do not see your question, please head over to Instagram at Ben the Barman, slide into my DM, and post your question. I do not ignore questions. Sometimes YouTube will not show them. Sometimes they're too long. So let me know where you guys are tuned in from. If your gyms are open, how all your COVID restrictions are going right now. Aren't we over it, really? I mean, seriously. Seriously. I mean, isn't it time to just let our immune systems do what they do? Please. All right. So before I get into things, guys, I got a couple of coaching openings. I actually had 3 people sign up last night while I was sleeping. So that's kind of the way it works in coaching. You'll just kind of have a day where, you'll fill all your slots. I do have about 3 slots left open, and I know a lot of coaches say that on the internet. I actually have a limit of how many I keep at any given time, but I do have 3 slots open. It's been kind of a slow January in general in the fitness industry because a lot of people are sick. So if you're interested, check out the link down below or head over to my website, superlivingtoday.com. It's only $80 a month. I'll be raising prices soon, just a little bit, because I haven't raised prices in forever. So I got a new setup here. I'm in my upstairs office. Let me know how things are going. If the connection's okay, if the video and audio are okay. And look, one last thing before we dive in. I'm still a little bit sick. I'm still probably, I don't know, my energy's okay, but I have a cough that just won't go away, and a runny nose that won't go away. So, this in an hour and a half video, I might have to cough up a few things. So just excuse me. All right, so let's dive into things. Stein, hello, folks, and happy Friday. Hey, Stein. Stein's back on top of the heap after his one defeat. I did a power hour on Wednesday where I did an unexpected live, and Stein was not first. So it's kind of like Hulk Hogan beating Andre the Giant. Richard Murray from Scotland. Richard, I just posted on Instagram 2 years ago today. We were frolicking in Scotland, and we climbed our first Corbett. And man, do we really miss Scotland. We miss having access to Scotland. Stein, I thought I had it. Almost. Dungeons and dumbbells. Maybe next time. If we lost twice in a row, the universe might collapse. Might form some kind of a binary gravitational oddity that might collapse the universe. Invisible. How's it going, Invisible? And Jeremy, glad you're back and feeling better. Thank you, sir. What do we got? Julian Berladinu. Sorry. that one required a little bit of work on my part. That was a different name. Dinu. Trying to pronounce it, probably not very well. Apologize. Duckins. Sneaking out of winter, Northeast is getting 1 to 2 feet of snow a night. We've had a really, really mild year as far as snow. We've had last week, I think we had kind of what would you call a dusting. It wasn't anything substantial. Eric, how's it going, Eric? Thanks for tuning in. And Mickey, how's it going, Mickey? Olympic grade lurker says it's snowing in Kentucky. Kentucky is about 30 minutes south of me, so I haven't peeked out the window yet. Honestly, with having COVID, I've been sleeping in, setting my alarm for 10 every day. I've been trying to get as much sleep as I can. I just want to get this over with, so I've just been turning up the rest as much as possible. Chad, tuning in from Florida, and the gyms are wide open here. I don't think the gyms ever closed in Florida. And as far as I know, they're not closed here in Ohio. But, man, as a coach, I can tell you I'm so tired of having clients have their gyms closed. It's just sickening. Duckins from New Hampshire. Just some masks in place. Sebastian ran 739 meters this morning in 3 minutes. That's 84 meters more than I could yesterday. I've been gaining distance every day for about a week now. I don't really know what your goals are, but you got to be careful with that. Like, there's a way to train to bring up the floor, to bring up your base speed. If you want to do that for fun, go ahead. But it'll cap out. It'll cap out quick. And then when you want to raise the rate of your floor, your ceiling is kind of, let's look at things in 4 gears of running. You have walking, which is level 1. You have sprinting, which is level 4. That's like as fast as you can go. Level 3 is a gear below sprinting, something you can sustain for, probably 60 to 120 seconds. And then gear 2 is going to be like conversational running, something you could probably sustain for a maximum amount of time. So gear 1's walking, gear 2 is conversational running. Gear 3 is a faster grade where you can run 60 to 120 seconds sustainable without losing speed. And gear 4 is sprint speed. So you want to do most of your running at gear 2. To raise your floor, you do things called surging, which is what I call it, into gear 3, where you do that for maybe a minute and then rest 2 or 3 minutes. Not rest, but you run back down to gear 2, and then you go back to gear 3. That's going to help you raise your floor, your base speed or your average speed, rather than trying to set a PR every time out. And you can't do that every time you run. You maybe want to do that once a week. I'm no running expert, but I've had some pretty darn good coaches, and that's kind of my cursory, takeaway, if you will. All right, gyms are open here, but they'll ask you to leave if you're obviously sick. Yeah, that's probably not a bad idea. I mean, there's no way, just common sense with how I feel right now, there's no way I want to be wandering around in public, unless it's on a trail or someplace far away from people. Big Spoon Bear, yo, dude, hope you're feeling better soon. I hope I am too. It's going to be about 6 weeks before I got in. I snuck in a workout or two. But man, it's been the oddest winter. I haven't been sick in like 5 or 6 years. Then I get sick for like 17 days, get like a 4 or 5, 6 day break where I put together all my gym equipment. And then all of a sudden, boom, with COVID. So I'm going to have been out of it for about 6 weeks when I get back at it. So you guys are going to be able to see some grit, from the ground up. Chad Schlacker. Sorry, that's a hard one. Opinion on grouping exercises by muscle group within a single workout. For example, or alternating. Example, chest, delts, tries, chest, delts, tries versus chest, chest, chest. I'm not a fan of either of those. Both of them bother me. Both of them kind of, give me some mental tics. And let me explain. You don't want to chest delts, and then finishing off with tries. Tries are the weak group, the weaker muscle group. You want to give in that structure, you want to give more focus on your chest and delts. So they will indirectly hit your tries, and then when you're done, you can go in and work your tries and get what is left out of them. In the chest delts or in the push scenario, I like to alternate between chest delts, and then the next workout, delts, chest. I like to balance things. I see no reason not to balance things, and then finish off with triceps. I'm not a fan of the second at all, doing all chests and all delts. Generally, you're going to be hitting a major pressing movement or two major pressing movements for your delts when you're pretty fatigued. And I don't think that services the delts to a degree where I would feel satisfied. Vinny P, what's going on? Vinny's a client of mine. What's up, brother, man? Glad you're doing better. Appreciate all you do. Thank you. Week has been trash with working out long hours. I understand, man. I mean, do what you got to do. I am one of the worst when it comes to taking care of myself. Like, my workouts always come like after my client stuff. And then sometimes it's freaking 10 o'clock at night and I'm like, I didn't work out today. Big Spoon Bear, I'm going to say that Stein not being first is like Magnetar being eaten by a supermassive black hole. DGs, hello from Fort Worth. How's it going down in Tejas? 3 days grace. How are you? Good, sir. Thank you. Big Spoon Bear, I had a 5-day flu and still have a slight cough, keeping the vitamins going. Yeah, you know, it's I just can't get rid of the cough. And it's just kind of annoying. It's barely there. But let's be honest. After like 18 or 19 days, you're sick of it. Just absolutely sick of it. What do we got here? Do you think that the guys at the top of the IPF are natural? Personally, I do not think they are. I'm going to be honest, and this is not a cop-out, but since I started doing Massive Iron Lives and coaching, more full-time, I'm completely out of the loop with what's going on in powerlifting. I see the occasional thing go by, but I am so out of the loop, just absolutely so out of the loop. I'm trying to make more of my content, broader, general muscle and strength building, running and, fat loss and stuff like that. But just out of the loop a little bit in powerlifting. That doesn't mean I don't care. It's just that I don't have time. So, guys, if you guys have an opinion on that, please feel free to share it. And I want to remind you guys, if you're new here, please share a question. Don't be shy. There's no dumb questions, just stupid questions and awkward questions and weird questions. But we'll answer them all. And be a part of the community, right? I'd love to help. So chime in. Usually this thing really gets rolling about 30 minutes in. But the more questions we get earlier, the better. Richard, on standing one arm dumbbell overhead press, is it all right to use slight leg drive? Absolutely. The big thing is to be consistent. The hardest thing when you're doing a press is the first rep, because you unrack and there's really no tightness. After you lower on the first rep, you kind of have that spring-loaded type of feeling, right? But I use a little bit. I use a little bit of mojo, a little bit of leg drive when I'm doing overhead presses, standing. And somebody might ask, why would you do a standing single arm overhead press? At some point, if you are getting strong enough on your seated double two-arm dumbbell overhead press, it gets really difficult to get the dumbbells into position. In fact, at my strongest, it was harder to get the dumbbells into position. I feared more, jacking up my back or throwing out something or tearing a bicep, than actually doing this set. I think at my peak, I was doing like 3 sets of 10 with 110s, maybe one set with 120s. Getting those in a position for a seated press is a strength of feet. You're doing 2-arm cleans with 100 to 120 pound dumbbells. It's just not fun. So at some point when that becomes difficult, you can switch to the single arm dumbbell overhead press, which is what I use now. It's a lot easier to get the dumbbells in a position. Justin P., truck convoy in Canada protesting vaccine mandates. Proud to be a Canadian right now. I will say, and I do not want to go down the rabbit trail of politics, but I believe a lot of this is political. Vaccines aside, I'm not anti-vax or whatever. And that's something for a whole different discussion. I'm not necessarily pro-vaccine either when it comes to this one, but that aside, taking away someone's ability to choose on something that is like influenza, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It doesn't, and pressuring people doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's just a slippery slope, and it feels like it's more about politics than anything. Let's be real. That truck convoy is great. Much respect to Canada from the UK. Soy Sauce Banana messaged you on Team Message in November, and it's also late January. I haven't heard from you. Getting sick, Soy Sauce, and I apologize. I've been sick on and off almost for 6 weeks. And during that time, my private messages in Team Massive are literally just insane. I can't keep up. And I apologize for that. That was an unexpected thing. One of the things with what I do is on Instagram or on YouTube or any place where I get comments, they tend to bottleneck and I'm not making excuses, but I got to put some time in and get caught up because I just got absolutely slammed and I didn't expect people to be using it as much as they did. I know it's optimal to do a 3-day full body. No, it's not optimal. My schedule does not fit that. Is there another major issue? Oh, okay, I got you. Doing every other day. My schedule does not fit that. I thought you meant it was optimal to do a full body over another type of workout, so apologies. Is there any major issues, say, during Monday, Tuesday, Friday? What I would do is I would probably do some finagling, and I'm thinking through this live. So you probably want to do something on Wednesday, which is kind of a break from convention. So on Monday and Friday, I might do legs, and I might do chest, and I might do shoulders, and I might do triceps, and maybe a few other things, right? And then on Wednesday, I might do back, I might do traps, I might do biceps, I might do abs, I might do calves. So you're squeezing in one day in the middle, or wait, on Tuesday. So Monday and Friday, you do leggies, you do chest, you do shoulders, you do triceps, you do whatever else you want to squeeze in, maybe rear delts. And then on Tuesday, what I would consider doing is like deadlifts, back work, traps, biceps, and calves. So it's not a strict frequency training, but there you have some form of frequency, which isn't going to really impede your ability to squat it. But then again, if you're getting into that type of thing, you're better off doing an A/B split. Where you have 4 workouts and you rotate over the course of your 3 training days. The problem is, if you're going to do things back to back on Monday and Tuesday, you got to be smart about it. Can you do it? Yes. I would do a lighter day on Tuesday. So if you squat on Monday, I'd do like leg extensions or something lighter on Tuesday. And by lighter, that could even mean hack squats. Just don't do the big compound lifts on Tuesday. If you bench on Monday, you could maybe do a dips and push-up superset on Tuesday. Just be smart about it. You could go light on Monday with like pull-ups, and then on Tuesday you could do a heavier lift like deadlifts and barbell rows. So yeah, there are ways to do it. Just be smart about it. Chad, favorite muscle group to hit? Mine is probably going to be back. Just back day. There's something super intense about back day. You can't fake a strong back day. You just can't. My back day, and I detailed this on Instagram, I would lead off with deadlifts, and usually I do 3 sets, whatever I felt like on that day, whatever I felt like working up to. Sometimes it was with chains, sometimes it was with blocks. And then I would work down to 1, maybe 2 sets of dumbbell rows. They were extremely exhausting after deadlifts. So I would usually do a set of 200s by 20. That was the Ronnie Coleman dumbbells when I was working at the power station. If I was working out at home, I might go heavier, 240, 250, sometimes up to 270. And look, I do actually have hair for anybody keeping score at home. There's my sexiness for you. So after that, then I would do probably volume work like lat pull downs, seated cable rows. I would generally do barbell rows or penalty rows. And my penalty rows, seated cable rows, and lat pull downs usually were 3 at the lowest, 3 to 5 sets per exercise. I like to do a lot of volume. Sometimes I would squeeze in T-bar rows instead of penalty rows. Sometimes I would squeeze in machine rows instead of penalty rows. And then I would do bicep work. Josh, finished 3 months cutting successfully. Well done. Not many people can do that anymore. How long should I cool before cutting again? Josh, what I would do is I would probably set a 10-pound limit. Okay. So be more maintenance this weekend, kind of maintenance out a little bit, have a little beer, a little pizza, whatever you're going to do. Weigh yourself on Monday. And on Monday, then maybe set an 8 to 10 pound gain. Where you're gaining 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds a month. And what you can do from there is once you gain 8 to 10 pounds, then I would cut everything but 3 of those, 3 to 4. So let's say you gain 8 pounds, then you cut 5. Let's say you gain 10 pounds, and you cut 6. All right. So what you're doing is you're taking some good quality 4 months to build, and then you're going to knock off that fat, and then you can continue that cycle. And the obvious question someone has is, well, what about water weight? You're going to see water weight loss when you cut. You're going to see water weight gain when you bulk. Yes, that's true. But if you continue to do these cycles where you gain 8 to 10 pounds and then you lose 3 pounds less than what you gain, the water weight is going to wash out. So if you gain 12 pounds during a four-month bulk because of water weight and you lose 9, it's a wash, right? So you just kind of have to be smart about it and take that into consideration, if that makes sense. McBean Fitness, I powerlift and I'm natural, but I'm aware a lot are not, but I really don't care. I choose not to. They choose to. Risk reward is not great enough for me. The thing about it as well is that in ignorance, a lot of people, and I'm not saying this is about you as well because you're mature. I'm sure you understand this fully. But everybody tends to, in this industry, lump PED use all in the same boat. And it's a huge, wide variety of what people are doing. Let's be real. You have some people that are really just taking, TRT levels from their doctors, real TRT, not fake clinic TRT. And then you have the fake clinic TRT, which is disguised as TRT, but basically you walk into your clinic or you call your clinic in Florida and you can get whatever you want, really. You can get whatever you want. And, you can get 1,000 milligrams a week cycle. You can get HGH. You can get whatever you want if you got money. And it'll be called TRT. So you got that broad spectrum. And then you just have the guys, doing whatever the hell they're doing. When I was in powerlifting more deeply, I was intertwined with a lot of the bigger names. Not that they were my best friends, but I ran in their circles. And I had a lot more big name powerlifting friends. And that's, a reminder. I trained at a gym where people used to train at Westside. I trained with people that used to work with Westsiders and also big names across the industry. I trained with Donnie Thompson, who used to be the strongest power lifter in the world. So I've been in the circles, and I've heard some of the cycles that some of the top name guys took, and it was shocking. It made like TRT use, like the TRT clinic use, look absolutely pitiful. There's some guys out there really abusing their body. So just understand, everybody, there's a broad spectrum. There's a very broad spectrum. And the wider you get at the ends of the spectrum, when at the very end of the spectrum of extreme abuse, very few people are doing that. Very few people can afford it, and they're just insane. And the average individual that's dabbling with it is just doing a very minimal amount. Is it right or wrong? Well, if you compete in a federation where it's tested, it's 100% wrong. It's not fair. It's not fair at all. And those types of people are deplorable. And that's the only way you can put it. Paul, hello, team massive. What's going on, Paul? Vinny P, do you think a lot of stretching before warming up and lifting is more beneficial? No. When strength training or doing stretching and mobility another time. Stretching before lifting has only been shown, and the science is still on. This is still highly, personal, but from what we understand, it stretching before lifting doesn't provide any benefit. You can weaken a muscle a little bit. What I find is when you're warming up, you want to loosen up things. The fascia, around the muscle tissue that's all tight and calcified, you want to kind of break that up and get things moving. Like when I used to go on a 4-hour run, I would get in the car, and as soon as I was done, everything was like calcified. It was like turned to stone, and a little bit of movement would break that up, right? So generally, you want to bring up your body temperature to a reasonable level during your warm-ups, and you want to loosen up that calcification so you don't feel stiff. So the question is, how do you loosen up that calcification? Usually I find that just walking around the gym, loading barbells, doing warm-up sets, that's all I need to do that. If you find you need to do something more to do that, something a little bit extra, then by all means do it. But I would probably not advocate stretching. I might do some band pulls or, something that made a little bit more sense. Now, if you want to do things like yoga or stretching on off days for flexibility, then by all means do it. But I would not do it before training. You want to do it after training, you want to do it on off days, by all means. Felix, do you like back extensions? And are they pretty effective? Well, back in the day, I seem to recall the back extension was advocated a lot more first, and maybe the stiff leg deadlift first, and not so much the deadlift. That's somebody outside with a leaf blower. What in God's name? So anyway, You always got one guy in your neighborhood, like the leaf blower guy. It'll be like the middle of January and he's blowing leaves. He's out there with the leaf blower. Do you like back extensions? I believe for somebody that is starting out and has very little back strength, they're a good place to, probably a good place to start. Maybe on a novice routine before you jump into deadlifts. I know that it's kind of, scandalous in the modern era to talk about not doing deadlifts right out of the gate as a novice, but there's a lot of bad deadlift form. There's a lot of, and we have to phrase this the right way. It takes some time to learn proper deadlift form, and people aren't bad people for trying to learn the form. But everybody's so hyped on jumping into squats and deadlifts right out of the gate. Every novice has got to jump into squats and deadlifts right out of the gate, and that's not always the best case. In some cases, back extensions, to build up some back strength can be a good idea. So, do I like them beyond that? I guess it all depends on if there is time in your program for them and there is a need for them. I never found a need to do additional lower back work. I'm a little bit nervous about doing additional lower back work without analyzing the program and the lifter. Meaning after you've done your squats and after you've done your deadlifts and after you've done your Romanian deadlifts and after you've done your other exercises that impact your lower back, such as maybe barbell rows or pendlay rows or dumbbell rows, how is your lower back doing? Can it take some more abuse? Can it take some more training? Or do we need to give it a little bit more time and space? So there's nothing wrong with them inherently. I think when we were talking about the lower back, more than any other muscle group, we have to kind of look at the bigger picture and how the lifter is responding to the training, if that makes sense. Javon, is pulling the slack out of the bar when doing deadlifts really necessary? In my book, it is. What pulling the slack means is before you pull a rep, you pull on the bar just to the point before it wants to leave the ground. If you don't do that, generally that will encourage you to focus more on standing up rather than yanking. And that gets you more in a position where you're tighter and you're thinking about standing up rather than weight forward or all the hip issues that come in deadlifting. So I think it's a good practice. So no downsides. Gray Rhino, do you recommend taking probiotics? Glad to see you back online. Back in the time when before I was doing live videos with a supplement engineer, I was a probiotics guy. It seemed like a smart thing to do, right? It was like the lifter thing to do. There was no downside, gut health, all this kind of stuff. Seemed like a good thing to do. Well, the more we learn about the gut, the more we learn it. Probiotics, maybe no downside, but maybe no upside. So when it comes to gut health now, I try to focus more on food choices and taking care of myself with food choices, if that makes sense. And honestly, gun in the head, I would rather see someone spend their supplement money in this day and age on something else. I'd rather see it take B12 or D3, that sort of thing. Invisible. Whoops. Doing full body at the moment. Do you think it is better to do RDLs before chin-ups or doesn't matter? Well, first off, we have to establish, are you doing a chin-up or a pull-up? Because these two can be interchangeable in the strength and muscle building world. They can be called the same thing when they're not. I don't want anything that does a biceps focus until it is time, until all the compound movements have been done. So that's my opinion. If it's a true chin up where your palms are towards your face, Then I would wait until all the major compound movements have been done, including RDLs. Best progression method for body weight exercises, chins, dips, etc. Bram, I put together a book, well, a PDF on my website, superlivingtoday.com. And you guys let me know if the quality of this is okay. For some reason, my internet keeps showing it's not full strength today, and I'm not sure what's going on because it was fine the other day. I put together a PDF on body weight stuff at my website, and it's a couple bucks, no big deal. But basically, what I like to do is focus on block training, like train them multiple times a week. And a block could be a 60-second block. It could be a 70-second block. It could be a 90-second block. It could be a 2-minute block. Okay. So what you're doing is you're trying to see how many reps you can get in that block of time. Resting is needed. So if you're doing push-ups and you need to take a 10-second break, take a 10-second break. If you're doing chin-ups and you need to hop off the bar, shake out your hands, hop back up and do another chin-up, go ahead. But if you're super weak, what you can do is do a couple of these blocks every other day. And then look at your rep total. How many reps did I get in the 60-second block? How many reps did I get in the 70-second block? How many reps did I get in the 90-second block? And then you can try to improve it by one. This is a much easier way of improving or progressing, beating your score last time than just trying to do reps per set. Over time, you'll find using this method, that you'll see pretty good progression. All right, let me get a drink here, guys. Just 1 second. We're 37 minutes in. Post up your questions now, guys. Stay on as long as you have questions. Just a reminder, you can head over to superlivingtoday.com if you want coaching. I also do custom workout design, and those are always fun. I'll send you a list of questions, and I'll put together a workout for you, build it from the ground up. That's one of my favorite things to do. So if you're interested, check that out over at superlivingtoday.com. All right, seal rows. Your thoughts on seal rows? That is what I consider usually a third tier exercise, and that's not a negative. Let's establish that. What I mean by third tier exercise is I have my first tier exercises I like to do for back, which are the big hitters like pendlay rows and dumbbell rows and deadlifts. Those are my tier ones. Got to get those in. Then I have my tier twos, and seal rows could be a tier 2 for you. My tier 2s are seated cable rows and lat pull downs. And after that, then I have kind of a rotation of other exercises that I might do, like T-bars or machine rows. A seal row would be a tier 2 or tier 3. Where do you want to squeeze it in? It's a good exercise. There's nothing wrong with it. That's one of those personal preference exercises. Do you like to do them? Then find a way to work them in. Soy sauce banana. I did elevated deadlifts from the rack, maybe 6 to 8 inches from the floor. My lower back is sore but not in pain. Is lower back soreness normal if it's been a while, or is it an indication of bad form? It can be an indication of bad form. One of the things on rack pulls or block pulls that's not taught is that we need to understand it's a different leverage position than a deadlift. You don't start hanging over the bar like you would the same position as a deadlift. You got to realize when you deadlift, your shoulders are forward. As you stand up, your shoulders start to move back. So in a rack pull or block pull, your shoulders will start to move back. So during a deadlift rep, your shoulders will start to move back. So what does that mean in the application of a block pull or a rack pull? Well, what I like to do is take the slack out of the bar and lean back a little bit. I feel like I'm leaning back before I actually pull. That will help take some stress off the lower back. If you're hanging out over the bar, there's probably more stress on your lower back on a rack pull or block pull, if that makes sense. Now, when you say sore but not in pain, that's a good thing. You don't want pain. Soreness is okay. Renee, any benefits of speed work? Renee, I got to tell you, I'm not a big fan of speed work. I'm just not. I find that, and this is my coaching philosophies, and there are a lot of great coaches out there that focus on speed work. And first off, I want people to understand that there's 70 different trains to Strengthville, right? So I'm not saying speed work is useless. The way I coach strength training, I don't find time in my type of programming for strength training. I don't find it to have value in the way I coach. So generally not a big fan. With that said, when it comes to the deadlift, there are things like one of the things I would do would be trying to clean the bar off the ground just to about my belly button area. That's kind of a variation of a speed pull. And I could get those, to like 365 by whatever. If you can do those, it's probably going to benefit your deadlift. Let's be real, because you're pulling faster. You're pulling fast off the ground. I am more, let's get your dumbbell rows in your back and your barbell rows strong. I'm a back yoke strength type of guy when it comes to the deadlift, for example. So I'm like, if you can do pendlay rows with 365, where do you think your deadlift's going to be, right? You're going to have that overall well-rounded strength. That's kind of the way I approach things as a base for things like the deadlift. The bench, I have very specific philosophies that will probably evolve in the next 20 years. But I don't like speed work. I just don't find time for it. I have other things I like to do to build a bench, for example. Sebastian, how many calories do you need to bulk? I don't know my maintenance. Well, and I'm saying this in general terms. If you don't know your maintenance, that's just laziness. And I'm not calling you lazy. I'm just saying anybody can find their maintenance level. So I'm not slamming you, Sebastian. I'm just saying the state of not knowing your maintenance level is just meant you haven't taken the step to find it out. So to find it out, you need to start weighing yourself every other day, have a consistent calorie intake, and monitor that graph. And from there, you start to make adjustments. You don't make snap adjustments; you make slight adjustments, and it's a guessing game. But it can take a month. It requires you to monitor your calories. It requires you to be consistent with calorie intake, and it requires you to monitor your weight. No one can do that for you. Anybody that says they can, they're just going to guess, and they'd be able to guess as much as you. And I hate to use the term lazy. That was probably a bad choice of terms. But if you want to know your maintenance level, only you can determine it. Let's put it that way. Opinions on low volume training for naturals. The devil will lie in the definition. There's factors involved in training that are beyond just volume. Like, what do you consider low volume? Low weekly volume, because that's really what we want to look at. What's your progression approach? What's your progression indicators? Are you attacking those every week? If not, when are you attacking those? So there's a lot of factors in the equation. For me, I like to see lifters do 9 to 12 hard sets a week for, say, chest, shoulders, back, and legs. Okay. You go below that, and you better be making more of those sets count. Like pushing them for max safe reps. Slava, currently age 18 at 405 deadlift. Nice work. Without squatting for 6 months. Without squatting, does a deadlift plateau? No, that would be too much of a generic. The equation doesn't work like that. Obviously, everybody is different. But what you really want to focus on, Slava, is getting your back as strong as you can, using straps or Versa grips, getting your dumbbell and barbell rows and all your rows nice and strong, really working your traps, and doing the quad exercises you can do. Squats are not the only exercise. I'm not sure if you can do other exercises. If you can, do them. And then you could possibly do things like RDLs or stiff leg deadlifts or that sort of thing. Josh, online coaching. Do you have clients sending in posing pics weekly to monitor progress? Typically what I do, Josh, is there is a place in my app where people can upload progress photos. And do I make them mandatory? No. A couple of reasons. Number one, it's not everybody's jam, right? Number two, not everybody really wants to, be at that level. For some, if we can see them, like, look, you got a guy that's like 240, who just wants to build some strength and defat a little bit. There's not a lot of value for him and me and, seeing his posing pictures. So I make it optional. For those people that want me to comb through their body fat percentage to a greater degree, it's there for them. Let's put it that way. Typically once a month is enough, unless somebody is super, super lean and you're starting to see changes on a, almost a daily basis. Carlton, oops, why didn't it show up here? How do you pick your working set weight? A lot by feel. The best thing you do is you swoop in early with a light weight and you do nice and controlled, and you just listen to your body. Are you able to get 10 reps, 8 to 10 reps very, easily in a manageable way? If so, don't assume you can just add another large amount of weight. You creep up from there. It's a creep, and it can take 2 to 3 weeks, and that's okay. You want to be really careful when you're starting a new exercise and trying to zero in on your weight that you don't hit too hard the connective tissue. The muscles can usually handle things a little bit better than the connective tissue. So ease into things. Just ease into things. David, why not just use light weights or no weights in order to correct form? Because lightweight or no weight does not push back. And good form is going to be under some kind of an opposing force. I cannot sink into the hole on squats without at least 185 on my back. So unloading or reloading or deloading, it's real easy to keep good form under no load. It's really easy to have the illusion of good form under no load, but that's not form. If you're going to deadlift with a bar, anyone can keep their hips in a position with just a bar. But when you have 400, that's a different thing. Form has to be under a reasonable load, or else it's not true form. Because form only works when it holds up under fire. Does that make sense? Chad says you're coming through perfectly for me. No connectivity issues. Thank you. I appreciate that. Holy Maze, is it okay to keep doing dips even if I have popping and slight pain during the week? That's an impossible question for me to answer because there's something going on. Would you probably be okay in the short run? Yes. Is there potential that something's going to deteriorate in the long term? Yes. What I would suggest is getting a bench press slingshot device and A bench press slingshot device will provide some support, but I'm going to be honest, if I have an exercise that's causing pain, I really have to spend a lot of time thinking, is this exercise worth me doing? Because you do not want to mess with your shoulders. You do not want to put your shoulders in a position where there's a domino effect, and it's going to take its toll on down the line on something else. Bryson, let me just get things squared away here. When you get closer to jumping on stage, do you change the type of training you do to volumize muscles and create separation? No. Separation is a function of fat. Is a function of body fat levels. So you're not going to be doing anything like that. There are protocols people use to fill out a muscle with glycogen and with sodium and that sort of thing. But that you're talking, a day or two before the stage. There's nothing you're going to do. You got to be really careful introducing variables like that right before. There's a lot of really bad information when it comes to competing, and there's a lot of really stupid stuff that people would use that wasn't necessarily scientific or that made real world sense. So your main focus is going to be on getting lean. The leaner you are on the bodybuilding stage, the better chance you have of winning or placing higher. From there, with that groove going, then you want to, make sure your time, your carbs and your sodium and all that kind of thing. But as far as training, no, you just want to hold it together. You don't want to do anything ridiculous. You don't want to encourage injury. And there's nothing 10 weeks out that you want to do that's different. That's dramatically different. Maybe 5 to 8 weeks out, if you need to lighten the load a little bit and do slightly more volume or pumping work, that's fine. But just make sure you're recovering. You don't want to change too many variables. The key thing really, in my opinion, and I'm no super expert, but I will tell you as a coach, the key thing is to keep the diet going. The key thing is to get lean. I can tell you from someone that's been to many bodybuilding shows, lean is where it's at. So that's really your prime directive, if that makes sense. And if you're training reasonably, you're not going to lose, you're really not going to be losing any muscle mass. All right, guys, we're about 53 minutes in. Keep the questions coming. I got a few in the queue left. If I run out of questions, I'm going to jump off. So if you guys are new here, please post up your questions. I'd love to answer your questions. Keep them coming. Keep them rolling. If not, I'm just going to jump ship when they are done. Rob M. Crave fast food 3 lifting days a week. I'm starving after I lift. It's not unusual to have cravings after you lift. Just be smart about your food intake, okay? Because this is a long game. Meaning there are things involved other than just calories and feeding the beast. You want to take care of yourself as well. So there has to be some balance. Meaning, don't just go to Burger King and eat a large fry and an 800 calorie Coke. Get some nutrients and some good stuff in there, post workout. Some protein, some protons, some good stuff. Just be smart about it. Be smart about your fast food. I used to lift, and sometimes I didn't feel like cooking, so I'd go to McDonald's and get 3 McDoubles. 23 grams of protein, 380 calories, not the best thing in the world to eat. No fries, no junk Cokes, that sort of thing. Shout out to Cole Boone. Excuse me. Who's Cole Boone? Logan Wetzel. Thoughts on the Arnold split? It's all right. I think it's outdated. If I were redoing it, I would do it differently. Maybe I should redo it. it's okay. But, just because Arnold did it doesn't mean it's really godlike. As far as, honestly, I'm just going to be honest, it's kind of an outdated routine. As good exercises, yes. Is it the best structure for the average individual? No. Is it a reasonable structure? Will it work? Yeah, it's okay. It's just nothing I find in the sea of great programs that we have in the modern landscape. I just don't find it to be in the top, 70%. Any tips on pulling sumo? The biggest issue people have when they pull a sumo is they try to pull a sumo like it was a conventional deadlift and they hang out over the bar. The sumo, you need to get your butt down, and the sumo, you need to get more upright. The sumo, you need to take slack out of the bar before you pull, and you need to understand that you don't need to grip and rip on the sumo. What you need to do is focus on just getting the bar off the ground. If you can get the bar off the ground on sumo, there's a good chance you're going to lock out. So you don't have to grip and rip. You don't have to be a gorilla. Get upright and then focus on just trying to get the bar off the ground. A sumo will likely feel slower the first 2 inches. And then boom, before you know it, you accelerate because of good leverages. So get in that mentality when you're doing your warm-ups. I'm just going to go slow off the ground, try to get it off the ground the first couple of inches, and then boom, it should be all golden from there. Richard, does the arm blaster have some worth, or is it a gimmick? I have an arm blaster, and I've always had an arm blaster, and I find it to have some value. An arm blaster is one of those things that you put over your neck. It's got the strap over your neck, and you brace your arms, and you can curl. It allows you to focus your curls. It allows you to feel your contraction a little bit better. Definitely not a gimmick, more than just a tool. Now, whether you like that tool, it's up to you. But that tool might feel better for you on some exercises than others. Bryson, thank you so much. Awesome answer. Mahalo. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. And Lionel, how much hypertrophy difference between 10 to 15 versus 20 sets a week per muscle? 20 sets is a lot of junk volume. If you can do 20 sets a week for a muscle, you're probably not working hard enough. That just seems like way too much junk volume. And what I mean is, like, Lionel, if you can go into the gym with somebody like me or an experienced lifter, if you're still ready to go after 12 sets, then do a couple more. 20 sets, though, where do you find room to do all your minor muscle groups? So you're living in the gym. It seems a little bit like junk volume area. Bluegill Greg, glad to see you recovering. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Did bench today, hit a 10 rep PR, did 9 last time, but total reps didn't go up. Is this still progress? Hit a 10 rep PR. Yeah, that's progress. Every rep you add, if you look at a 1 rep max calculator, is generally, at least a 5-pound increase. Now, what happens a lot is you might hit a PR on your first set, and then you might struggle on the next set or the next 2 sets after, and then start to bounce back a little bit. That's not unusual. It's not unusual to see somebody do really well in the first set or the first exercise, struggle on the second, and then come back and be stronger. So all progress, all step forwards are good steps, forward. That's definitely progress. Any advancement at all is a big step forward. Josh, for someone who has reached their strength goal and muscle mass, would hanging out at 12% be ideal? If you are at a place like me, Josh, where you have all the strength you want, all the muscle you want. You can hang out at whatever body fat percentage you want. Maintaining or keeping in that lane is super easy. So if that's where you want to be at, man, let it rip. I mean, from a longevity standpoint, from a health standpoint, very little downside to that at all. Mr. Kimball, how's it going from Atlanta? Hope things are well down south, and hope you guys having a mild winter and no unexpected bad weather. David R. lifts it's like a concentration curl, but you can do both arms at the same time. I believe he's talking about the bicep blaster. LB Kid, how do you lose weight while on psychotropic medication? Calories. Anything you do when it comes to weight loss comes back to calories. There's no way around that mountain. And whatever the challenge is, maybe you got the challenge where you're on a certain form of medication that makes it hard. The rules don't change. First thing to know is you need to understand the rules. Then from there, you need to focus on the things you can control. What can you control? You can control tracking your calories, and you can control monitoring your weight. You can control opening your mouth and what goes in your mouth, food quality. Those are all things you can control that the medication does not prevent you from controlling. So, with those variables under your control, you are very powerful. It might not be pleasant, but you have the power. From there, you need to dial down your calories until the scale is dropping. You also need to improve your food quality and to help facilitate that scale drop. What do I mean? No flour, no sugar, no processed food, no fast food, no seed oils, no junk food. Okay? And you have the power, you can get there. Best way to improve top portion of pull-ups. I can do 3/4 of the way, but it's difficult at the top. That's usually the strongest leverage position, but it really depends on the individual. So that's a tough question. I've never actually been asked that before. Have you specifically tried training that, just that area? It would be worth training, maybe even with bands, just to get in some extra work. That's something I would probably consider. 3 days grace. How much water should we drink per day? That's a very good question. And, there's a tendency for us to think we have to overconsume water, and people walk around with these giant gallon jugs like they've just conquered the great, challenge of the day or whatever. When it comes to hydration, you have to understand that as athletes, we need electrolytes, we need sodium, we need potassium, we need magnesium, we need calcium. We need our electrolytes. And over drinking water can kind of, mess up our system in that sense. Maybe make it harder, make us feel a little bit lower energy or whatever. Just keep it reasonable. Don't overthink it. For me, I usually start out with 1 or 2 energy drinks. I got my backup that's not opened yet. And then I try to get in a couple bottles of water during the day and at least a couple during the night. So I try to make sure that I get in, what do we got here for ounces? I try to make sure I hit 100 ounces a day. If not, somewhere around there is okay for me. But it depends on how much I'm running and that sort of thing. You don't want to be on the super low end of the spectrum. There's some people I've worked with or coached that are on the super low end of the spectrum, and lower end of water intake can make it harder to lose weight. All right, what do we got here? Normal for lifting endurance to decrease during a cut. Yeah, I mean, you have less glycogen in the muscles. Um, some people are they react more intense. The reaction is more intense when they cut. Like for me, if I'm in a cut, I feel the same. Maybe that's a function of food quality and 35 years of experience, knowing what to eat. Maybe that's a function of timing, knowing how to spread it out better for my body. Generally, I don't feel depleted or low energy, and that's certainly not a criticism or an indication that you're doing anything wrong. Some of that can be from a change in carbohydrates or food choices, because if you go from somebody that's eating, say, normal carbs and a little bit of bread and a little bit of pasta and a little bit of this and that, and you go to a cut and you cut all that stuff out, there's going to be kind of a change. If you're changing carbs, your body's not going to feel the same. So for me, how I eat during a cut in a bulk is pretty much the same thing. The only real difference is a slightly dialing down or scaling of calories rather than a reduction of carbs. So a lot of variables involved. It's not unusual. I would just try to really be careful when's your workout? How can you structure your nutrition to help you during your workout? Can you eat something with carbs, a slight amount of carbs, maybe 90 to 120 minutes before a workout? That might help you a little bit, not feel as flat or as depleted. Thomas Mitchell, thank you for everything you do. It's appreciated. Glad to see you recovering from COVID. Thank you, Thomas. I appreciate it. And LB Kid 90, thank you so much for the content. Guys, I got one question left. Last call. Usually right as I'm going to jump ship on the live videos, a couple people will post questions and I miss them every single week. So I'm giving you a 2-3 minute warning. Post up your questions now. I'm moving on to the last question. Rob, stuck on bench at same weight for 3 weeks. Reps fluctuate within 1 to 2 using the same weight. Rob, I would need to know what weight you're dealing at and what reps, because in the intermediate world, that's normal. That's not a plateau. If you're a beginner, that's more of, what's going on. Is your calories consistent? If you're somebody that's benching 180 to 225 for reps, that's not, stuck. You really can only expect to add 1 rep every 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks at that level. So that's pretty normal. I would need to know more information. And Rob says nowhere near peak doing 3x8 with 150. So Rob, I would probably suggest maybe looking at my more advanced program. That does a little bit lower volume and a little bit higher volume. I can send you information on that if you're on Instagram. Just a quick sneak peek of that if you want to message me on Instagram. But beyond that, I would ask you, how consistent is your calorie intake? Is it something you think about? Is it something you worry about? Do you know for a fact that it's 100% consistent? Or are you like, I don't really know where it's at? So don't devalue the importance of nutritional consistency when it comes to benching. Richard Murray, thanks for answering my question. Did you watch the Eternals? No, I did not. We did not watch the Eternals. The reviews kind of look sketchy, right? And man, we were sitting there. It looks kind of cool. But then when you read it, and you're like a little bit of wokeness, a little bit of that, a little bit too much, trying to stuff it in. We did not watch Eternals. We actually started watching the Ant-Man movie, and that was, I don't know, it was a movie. We quit halfway done. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you for joining me on Massive Iron Live. I'm going to be here every Friday at 11 Eastern. And please head over to my website, superlivingtoday.com. Get you a t-shirt. They're super cheap. Get you a workout. If you need me to build a custom workout, I'd love to do that. If you want coaching, it's only $80 a month. I'm with you every single day. And OMFG, how to stop myself from training on rest days. Get a different hobby. That's just discipline. It's just like a monkey. Like, you're out of control. You just got to say, I'm out of control. I need to relax. I need to take up a different hobby. David Arlifts, are you able to train for strength and train for hypertrophy? They're the same thing, David. They're the same thing. They're the same thing until you've reached basically 90% of your strength and muscle levels. And then you're doing more specific stuff to bring up weaknesses. All right, guys, I appreciate you joining me. Go sign up for coaching now. And I am out of here.